Hello, and welcome to the Bluegrass Sports Show. Or,
We are the BS Show. We're two fat guys that talk crap. We are the Fabios of Flub.
that's what. All right. So, I'm Carl,
And I'm Perry.
and today we are coming at you with our top 5 picks for the best NBA teams ever constructed. And I know for my list, there's going to be some pretty high criticism, especially for one of the teams I've excluded from my list.
Do you have the right years that they played and or won championships?
Hopefully I do. But I may be wrong. Who knows? I've been wrong before. So we are going to jump right into this for you guys.
Well, I'm sure you already knew what years they played and what years they won titles. That's what turns me on about you. Your attention to detail.
So at number 5, if Perry's done acting a fool, we are going to go the 64-65 Boston Celtics. This is the year that they had 8 Hall of Famers, if I'm not mistaken. with Russell leading the way and then winning the championship.
I understand why you would put them on your list, but it's completely time sensitive.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, they had 8 Hall of Famers. That's why I'm putting them on the list.
And their starting power forward was 6'6".
But they had 8 Hall of Famers. That's what I'm sticking with. That's why I've got to include them on the list. I mean, when you talk about, but when we talked about teams constructed, they were not constructed. They were drafted. There was no free agency back then. So they weren't constructed. They were just all drafted to the same team. But when you talk about 8 Hall of Famers being on one team, that's amazing.
Every Hall of Famer in the league but Wilt Chamberlain and Elgin Baylor and Jerry West was on the Celtics.
So I've got them at number 5.
K.C. Jones, Sam Jones, Bill Russell, Tom Sanders, John Havlicek. I get it. I completely get it.
I'm not sitting there naming all
it's just, I completely get it. I think, now he was John Thompson, coach Georgetown. He was on that team.
I mean, it's a great team, and that's why they make it, is just because of how many and how much talent they had on that team. That's the only reason they make it.
To keep our boy Gustavo happy, I'm going to stick with Green here. But I'm not going Bill Russell era setting.
Okay.
I'm going 1985-1986 Boston Celtics. I'm going Dennis Johnson. I'm going Danny Ainge. I'm going the living legend, Larry Bird.
And this was near the end of his career.
Larry Legend, the great white hope. I'm going Kevin McHale. He still had 5 or 6 years left, but this was near of him. This was his last MVP season. You got Kevin McHale. You've got Robert Parrish. Had Bill Walton coming off the bench. That team.
Weak Bill Walton, though.
That Bill Walton still did his job.
He did.
That Bill Walton was a starting caliber center still. He was healthy for the first time in years. He was sober for the first time in years. Bill Walton. I remember 1986 World Champion Boston Celtics. I don't like Bill Walton. I think Bill Walton's greatly overrated. But his role on that team,
I don't at all. I think if it wasn't for injuries, he would be amazing.
Perhaps. But in regards to this, I'm putting that team at my number 5. Elite passing unit, elite defensive unit. They can score the ball, too.
Yeah.
They can push. Beat the Rockets for the championship.
So who's your number 4?
My number 4?
The Rockets. Who was on the Rockets then?
That was Ralph Sampson and Hakeem.
Yep. Go ahead.
Who upset the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals.
Go ahead.
Beat them 4-1. My pick for number 4, the year before this team had a better record and had one better star. They had Glenn Rice the year beforehand. But the 2000-2001 Los Angeles Lakers, their record slightly suffered because Shaq was a little bit hurt that year. I think Kobe missed just a few games here and there. Still, unbelievable. To the playoffs, record that still stands today, highest winning percentage ever, 15-1. I don't care about the Warriors being 16-1. They took 17 games to win a championship to where the Lakers took 16.
Yeah.
Shaquille O'Neal averaging 28 a game. Kobe Bryant averaging 28 a game. You got Derek Fisher, who is not an all defensive point guard, a very good point guard.
He's
just
solid,
draining,
yes.
just draining
Very
threes.
solid.
Big shot Bob off the bench, just draining threes, throwing down on people's faces. Horace Grant with his weed eater goggles, his purple weed eater goggles. Horace Grant, Rick Fox, lockdown defender.
I mean, I don't have them on my list.
You don't have.
I don't.
You don't have the 01 Lakers on your list.
I don't. But they are
Now the year before,
easily, arguably, they could easily top number 5, and you will put them above my number 4.
Now I think that they won upper 50s in games, maybe lower 60s, but upper 50s.
I think it's 59.
The 99-2000 Lakers went 67-15. They blitzed everybody in the regular season, but they got to the postseason and they kind of struggled. 2001 is all business.
I think they won 59.
You're Allen Iverson playing out of your mind, getting the Sixers to overtime.
And that's
and
one
Shaq,
of the things when we talk about that team. I mean, that finals team that they were facing is arguably the weakest team to ever make the finals.
Not for its era. Not for its era.
I don't know.
Not for its era. That team had still a very good Dikembe Mutombo.
Oh, well, an all right Dikembe Mutombo.
Eric Snow's a good point guard.
He's all right.
I like Eric Snow. Allen Iverson was league MVP that year.
Yeah, Allen Iverson, I mean, which I hate Allen Iverson, but...
Now, compared to teams that we've seen after that team, I completely agree with you.
Right.
But for its era, as before they had all the rule changes that greatly enabled perimeter players to have a better influence on the game, that team was really good.
Right.
Defensive teams still won at that point in time where you had defenders
over so
shooters.
Much better.
But I don't care who they played in the finals. 15-1.
Yeah.
And they done that without arguably the best scorer on their bench in Isaiah Ryder. He was hurt and didn't play in the playoffs.
Right.
So
Ryder was tough too.
Yes, he was. Isaiah Ryder was awesome. He was tough. Give me the 01 Lakers at my number 4.
Yeah, I like it. At my number 4, I'm taking the 70-71 Bucks with Kareem and the Big O. And the Big O approaching the end of his career, and Kareem this is when he really took over as the stud that we know today as Kareem. And I mean, that team was amazing, but it was amazing because of those two players. And I mean, you touched on with the Lakers, Kobe and Shaq. This was that original 1-2 punch that dominated everybody. Kobe and Shaq just done it better.
The original 1-2 punch that dominated everybody was Jerry West and Elgin Baylor. They just didn't win.
Team beat that.
They would go to the finals every year. That was an old Elgin Baylor.
I know.
That was an old Jerry West, an old Elgin Baylor, and an old Wilt Chamberlain.
And old Oscar.
Well, older Oscar, but you had a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar pumping testosterone out both sides of his afro and his mutton chops.
Yeah, I know. That team was tough. But I can easily see that 2000 that Lakers team topping them. I could easily see that. But I just really like that team, the Bucks there. I really like
Bob
that team.
Dandridge.
Yeah, that was the coming on of Bob Dandridge.
That white guy that could shoot.
There's plenty of them.
I don't know what his name was.
I don't know which one you're talking about.
He helped me beat Cody Johnson on 2K because he could shoot. That's all I know. He's a white dude and he could shoot.
So at my number 3, and shout out to Gus, I'm going green. And also Darren. Shout out to Darren. I'm going the 85-86 Celtics.
Thank you. At least we agree on one team.
The 85-86 Celtics, my number 3. And I mean, you touched on the later Celtics. And, well, this is when they're fresh. They're fresh. No injuries hurting Larry. Kevin McHale's still on the team. Still doing his thing. And at this point, he's 6th man, right?
No, he started.
He started at this point?
Started.
Well, poo. But also, their center, what's his name?
Robert Parrish.
Yes, Parrish, still in his prime.
Chief.
And that was a great team. I mean, it was. All of these teams, first off, are phenomenal teams, right? I mean, we are talking top 5 ever in the NBA teams. So all of them is going to be phenomenal. But I really like that team. And the only team I like better in that time frame is my number 2.
I'm going to go ahead and give you my number 3, which is probably his number 2, the 86-87 Los Angeles Lakers.
That is my number 2.
So we'll just continue our conversation about them in just a moment. Whenever we get, you can brag on them in a minute. I'm going to talk about them now.
All right.
This is Magic whenever Magic is taking over primary scoring load from Kareem. Kareem's still going to average 20 a game, but Magic is going to lead the Lakers in scoring, averaging, I think, maybe 25 a game. Still lead the league in assists because, Gus, I want my Shaq stand-up, but Magic Johnson was a point guard. It's not debatable. But
Magic Johnson was a point guard.
You've got an old Kareem, 40, 41 years old, still an all-star, still the go-to guy.
I don't know if he's that old, but he was like 38.
He's pretty old.
Yeah, he's at least like 38, 38. But
he was a junior or senior in college in 1968. We're talking 20 years later.
I know. He's old, but I mean, this is Kareem here. He's averaged 20 points a game his entire career. Every season.
Know who we have not mentioned? Big Game James.
Yep,
James Worthy does not get near the credit he deserves historically. I wanted so bad to put him in my top 5 small forwards of all time. If he played anywhere else, he would have been on that list. But he didn't have to be a top 5 small forward of all time.
When we talk about James Worthy, a lot of people put Scottie Pippen ahead of James Worthy. False.
Defensively, yes. Offensively, absolutely not.
No, and I mean, period. As a player, you look at both of them together, James Worthy tops him to me.
James Worthy had LeBron James-esque explosiveness.
And
his speed,
James Worthy was amazing.
Maybe not court end-to-end speed, but as far as taking a ball off the dribble and going to the rim with it, like watching an escalator.
And Scottie Pippen was their number 2 option. James Worthy was their number 3.
James Worthy, to me, if he could shoot at all, James Worthy could have shot. You can make an argument on any list where he could be top 3 at that position.
Yeah.
Big Game James, man. Big Game James. Michael Cooper, Defensive Player of the Year. Yep. I don't know if he was that year, but Michael Cooper.
He was at one point.
Byron Scott, who started over Cooper. Yep. Byron Scott, electric athlete, barely taller than me, but could flat foot jump over me.
Yeah.
He could bounce. Michael Thompson, you were trash. But you produced Klay Thompson. Props to you. Kurt Rambis in your goggles. I don't know what your point was, but you wore goggles. You had kind of a mullet. I like you. A magnificent mustache.
So, is your number 2 my number 3?
Pat Riley.
Is your number 2 my number 3?
87-86 Lakers. That's mine. That's my number 3. Number 2.
No, 86-87 Lakers.
That's what I said. 86-87 Lakers. That's my number 3. You ain't got to your number 2
yet. Okay, I got
I'm about to give you my number 2.
Okay.
I'm about to give you my number 2. My number 2, the 2016-17 Golden State Warriors.
Oh, my gosh. Oh. I don't like it.
67-15, and the only reason why their record was that bad is because they were still gelling at the beginning of the season.
I agree.
You have the most lethal offensive weapon of all time in Kevin Durant.
But I hate him.
You have the most lethal offensive weapon at the point guard position who changed the game in Steph Curry. You have a perennial Defensive of the Year candidate coming off the bench in Andre Iguodala. Not to mention the perennial defensive player of the year who can also score 38 points in a quarter with Klay Thompson starting at the 2. Oh yeah, there's this one thug that starts at 4. Draymond Green, who is a nightly triple-double threat, who's going to go out on a nightly basis and get you 12, 7, and 5. Like it's no man's business, and you're lucky if that's all he hangs on you is just 12, 7, and 5, who's going to lock down your best offensive weapon unless he's a guard.
12, 7, and 5 is a bad game for him.
I know, but I'm just saying that might be his average. That might be his average. 12, 7, and 5 is not bad.
Yeah, but I think his average is better than that.
Probably is. But give me that team, specifically with the offensive firepower that it has.
In today's games with today's rules, maybe.
I'm going to tell you, that team could compete in any era.
No, they couldn't.
Yes, they could.
No, they couldn't, because Steph Curry would not be the player he is today with the defense that was played in the 90s and 80s. No, he wouldn't. He would be so aggravated. I mean, no. He's not going to get that distance that he gets now to be able to shoot.
Well, what you're acting like I'm saying is that they would trump any team from that era. They would win no matter what. They would win championships no matter what. They would lose, but they would be in contention and they could compete for championships
yeah, but
in any era.
That's because Kevin Durant's going to be able to play in that era.
What more do you need?
I mean, and Draymond's
JaVale
going to
McGee!
easily be able to play in that era.
JaVale McGee!
He would get destroyed in that era. I don't know, athleticism.
There was
some, but anyway, and Thompson is going to be one that he's going to shine in that era.
Yes, he is.
He is going to shine in that era. Curry's going to.
Steph Curry's still going to be really good.
I don't see it. I really don't. I don't see it.
There was
with the hand check and what all was allowed back then.
Perimeter defense was not as much of an emphasis then because shooting was not as much of an emphasis. That man, if you put him in that era, my God in heavens.
You don't think Ron Harper's going to be able to shut him down?
Well, I mean, let Ron Harper shut him down.
Or I'm so stupid at times.
Who's he playing?
Point guard. Seattle Supersonics. Gary Payton.
Let him shut him down.
And that's what I'm saying, though.
Gary Payton can only guard one at a time.
Oh, yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Klay Thompson would excel. Kevin Durant's still going to be Kevin Durant. I don't see it hurting him much. I mean, how many 7-foot small forwards played back then? So, Draymond, who is a physical force anyway, he's going to have the same game.
Right there's your guy that's going to be the reason why that team's going to compete.
True. I can see that. But Steph, I just don't see. But
you can only guard one person.
I honestly thought about including them, but I just hate the Warriors. I thought about putting them in there.
You sit over there being biased, and I'll sit over here with facts and teams that deliver.
Delivering today's time.
Who's your number two?
All right, so my number two is, my number two. That's the 86-87 Lakers.
Well, tell me why they're your number two.
Well, you already touched on everything.
No, I'm just wanting to see if you had anything different.
No, I ain't got nothing to add. I mean, really, you touched on everything. I mean, that team was, but here we are again talking about a team that was not necessarily constructed. Most of my teams are not constructed, if not all of my teams. They're more drafted than constructed. And what I mean by constructed is, I mean, just like your Warriors, they were put together.
Not necessarily.
Well, no, they're really not. Not when you think about the three.
They drafted Steph, drafted Klay, drafted Draymond. They traded multiple pieces to get Iggy in a sign and trade.
Yeah, but I ain't talking about that. Without Kevin Durant, are they on your list?
Without Kevin Durant, maybe not that specific team. But that opens up a spot to where other teams can move up to where I might consider other Warrior teams, especially one that won 73 games.
And lost. Which I did consider.
We've already discussed it.
But that's why they're not one of the greatest teams.
They may not be one of the top 5 teams without Durant, but they're still top 10.
Maybe. And that's what I mean. You can say constructed for them because they did constructed. I mean, when we talk about trades, they got Iggy. And they trade to get the cap room also to sign Durant. And then sign Durant. So you can say constructed for that team. But
it's one thing.
And I can see your argument. I just hate the Warriors, but I can easily see your argument for that. Because that
Warriors team was brilliantly put together by the front office to where they had the ability to go get Kevin Durant if they needed him.
Yep.
If they wanted him.
And I mean, it was tough. That's what I'm saying.
Number 6 on my list was a team that was completely blown up just to sign free agents. The LeBron Heat teams.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd have them at number 6 either.
I think I would, simply because the core of that team went to 4 straight finals.
Anyway, we haven't moved on to our number 1.
Go ahead.
So, our number 1, I'm assuming, correct?
Just depends.
is the 95-96 Bulls.
I thought you were going to go with the 95-96 Magic.
Yeah, okay. All right, so the Bulls. And we talked about the 73 Warriors. You got to talk about the Bulls, who did win the championship, finished it off, did not collapse.
In 6 games, yeah.
And
no, they beat.
I mean, just talking about that team and their ability
You know who they beat for the
with
title?
Jordan in 95, 96?
The Rain Man and the Glove.
Yeah, that is right.
Supersonics.
Yeah.
You've got Michael Jordan coming back furious. He's been embarrassed by the Magic the year before.
Mm-hmm.
With Horace Grant being carried off in Chicago
Right.
on his home court, having the Magic carry Horace Grant off the court because they're the only team since Michael and Pippen started winning titles.
Right.
They're the only
To
team
knock them off.
to beat them in the playoffs.
But people would make that argument, and I disagree with it, but people would make the argument that Michael was rusty. I don't see it. You played half a season. You've made it that far.
He didn't play half a season. He played like 15 games, like 17 games.
Oh, I thought it was more than that.
No.
But either way.
He didn't play well.
You've made it that far. Now you're just making excuses for them losing.
That 95 Magic team was just really good. That's what it boils down to.
If it wasn't for free throws, they could have very easily won the title.
I think they would. I'm not talking about Nick Anderson. Let's talk about the 96 Bulls. You have Michael at his utmost Michael. Michael's the GOAT.
Yeah.
Michael's the GOAT. You have Scottie Pippen having the best year of his career.
Mm-hmm.
You have Tony Kukoc, big magnificent.
Yeah.
You have Luke Longley being one of the best passing big men in the history of the game.
Luke Longley.
You have Dennis Rodman and his multicolored hair. Just out there describing boards.
Yeah, that's because, that defense is always...
Just locking down that defense. Dennis Rodman.
Grabbing boards. I hate Dennis
Ron Harper, who was a great scorer in his youth.
And he was...
Excellent defender.
That's what I was going to say.
Excellent defender. Running point.
Yep.
You've got Steve Kerr, who we didn't even talk about with the 17 Warriors.
No doubt.
Great coach. Steve Kerr knocking down shots.
He is a great coach. I'll give him that.
Knocking down shots, Steve Kerr.
Big shot Kerr, I guess.
That team, a lot of people, whenever the Warriors won their 73 games, they're like, can this team? And actually, you're putting the top two records of all time. The only teams that ever win 70 games. Who wins? Now, you can make claims for both. Back to what he said, rule changes affect this.
Yes.
Make claims for both. At the end of the day, and this goes back to us talking about our teams that we drafted, Michael Jordan is not going to lose. Now, he can call it wanting to be the man. I call it competitive drive.
No, it's beyond competitive drive, though.
Michael Jordan is not going to lose.
No. When it comes to that, when I say wanting to be the man, I'm talking about when you put him on a team worth of stars. No, when we're talking about that drive to win, he didn't just want to win. He hated losing. Absolutely hated it. It was like something that ate at his soul. And, honestly, I'm the same way. I can't stand to lose. But I don't have Michael Jordan's skills, or you'd be talking about me the same way. But he hated losing. And Kobe Bryant did too. Kobe Bryant absolutely hated losing. I think...
Let's not even bring up that.
That's the truth, though. He hated it. And that's Michael Jordan the same way. So, no, when you're talking about that drive to win a title, no, I'm not saying he had to be the man.
And not only, and this is branching away from that team, the 96 team, they won 69 games the next year.
Yeah, and it's basically the same team.
It may not be the greatest collection of talent, top to bottom, ever.
No, I don't
But it's the greatest team.
Now, if we're just talking collection of talent, I do put the 2017 Warriors up there.
It's loaded.
And I think they may be number one if we're talking collection of talent.
They can make a case up with the Celtics teams in the 80s and the Lakers.
But if we're talking about just great teams, I just don't. They'll give it to them.
If we're talking,
I definitely give it to the
If we're talking
Bulls.
Collection of talent, give me the 2010-2011 Celtics, and put them in their prime. You've got Rondo, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Shaq.
Yeah, but
with
you got to put them in
O'Neal
prime.
coming off the bench.
If you're going to put them in prime, then you can do that with
I know,
different teams.
but that's just silly. No team. I don't know.
No.
If you just put those guys in their prime, there's no
Rondo's
team in
easily
history
the
can match it.
weakest of the weaks, but
Rondo in his prime.
Rondo in his
really
prime did what he had to do for that team.
Yes.
assist, and defend. But anyway, we are through with this video before it gets rolling because we get talking. So thank you guys for watching. If you guys want us to do any videos, comment it on this video. We will see it, and we do try to hit all the videos that you guys comment. Obviously, if it's
Somebody don't want to put his phone on vibrate.
if it came off of vibrate, if we don't know anything about the sport really, and we're going to sound like fools up here talking, which we do anyway, but if more so, then we're probably not going to do it. But we will try to do these videos that you guys request. So definitely comment it on there. Give us a chance to please your needs. So
Never do it again.
But thank you guys for watching. If you liked it, hit that like button and that subscribe button. Perry, anything you want to add?
I'm going to get some Pizza Hut.
There you go. Have a good day, guys.